Jean-Michel Foucault's Discipline and Punish, The Birth of the Prison is a seminal work in the fields of philosophy, sociology, criminology, and history, examining the transformation of punitive practices in Western societies from the public spectacle of corporal punishment to the intricate systems of discipline embedded within modern institutions. Published in 1975, the book offers a profound critique of power, knowledge, and social control, marking a paradigm shift in the understanding of the penal system and broader mechanisms of societal regulation. The book is divided into four main sections: torture, punishment, discipline, and prison. Each section meticulously traces the historical and theoretical evolution of punishment, revealing the subtle and pervasive mechanisms through which power operates in society. Foucault's analysis is deeply historical, yet profoundly theoretical, combining archival research with philosophical reflection to uncover the relationships between punishment and knowledge. 1. From spectacle to discipline. Historical transformation of punishment. Foucault opens Discipline and Punish with a striking juxtaposition: the public execution of Robert François Damiens in 1757 and a prison timetable from the 19th century. The former represents the pre-modern form of punishment, violent, public, and theatrical. Executions and corporal punishments were designed to demonstrate the sovereign's power and to instill fear in the populace. The spectacle was as much about demonstrating authority as it was about penalizing the offender. In this period, punishment was a direct manifestation of sovereign power, the king's or state's ability to decide over life and death. The body was the central object of control. It was through physical pain and mutilation that social order was asserted. Foucault emphasizes the symbolic function of these early forms of punishment. The violent, public nature of torture and execution served not only as retribution but as a social ritual. The offender's suffering was a theater through which societal norms were communicated. Yet, these spectacles were also chaotic, unpredictable, and often failed to achieve the intended moral lesson. Public execution, in some cases, provoked sympathy for the condemned or disillusionment with the judicial system, suggesting an inefficiency inherent in purely physical forms of punishment. By the late 18th and 19th centuries, Foucault argues a significant transformation occurred. Punishment became increasingly hidden from public view, internalized and regulated through detailed systems of discipline. This shift reflected the emergence of modernity, with its emphasis on rationality, normalization, and administrative control. Rather than inflicting pain on the body as a spectacle, the new punitive practices sought to reform and regulate behavior, producing docile bodies through techniques of observation, categorization, and normalization. Discipline replaced spectacle. 2. Discipline. Mechanisms of power and social control. Central to Foucault's argument is the concept of discipline. Discipline, he contends, is a technology of power that operates through detailed observation and regulation of individual behavior. It is pervasive, extending beyond prisons to schools, hospitals, barracks, and factories. Discipline functions by standardizing actions, monitoring conduct, and establishing norms that define normal and deviant behaviors. Foucault introduces several mechanisms central to disciplinary power: the hierarchical observation, the principle that power is exercised through continuous observation, often institutionalized in architectural designs such as the panopticon. In Jeremy Bentham's Panopticon, a single guard can observe all inmates without them knowing whether they are being watched, ensuring self-regulation. The visible yet unverifiable gaze becomes a powerful tool for internalizing control. Normalizing judgment. Discipline defines standards of behavior, categorizing individuals based on conformity or deviation from these norms. Punishment is no longer about physical pain, but about correction, reform, and the imposition of norms. Schools and workplaces illustrate this function, where performance and behavior are constantly measured against benchmarks. Examination. Foucault underscores the role of detailed documentation and assessment, which combines observation with judgment to produce knowledge about individuals. Exams, reports, and assessments in prisons, schools, and military institutions generate information that reinforces social hierarchies and control. Knowledge and power are inseparable. The act of knowing becomes a means of governing. Through these mechanisms, discipline produces docile bodies, individuals who internalize societal norms and regulate themselves according to institutional expectations. Foucault emphasizes that this form of power is subtle, decentralized, and internalized, operating not through violent coercion but through the continuous shaping of behavior, thought, and identity. Number 3, the birth of the prison, institutionalization of punitive discipline. Foucault traces the evolution of the modern prison, demonstrating that it is not simply a more humane alternative to corporal punishment, but a more sophisticated instrument of social control. The prison exemplifies the logic of discipline, surveillance, normalization, and correction. It is a microcosm of the broader society, reflecting and reinforcing norms through daily routines, classification, and observation. The modern prison, Foucault argues, is part of a broader network of institutions that internalize disciplinary mechanisms. Schools, military barracks, hospitals, and factories operate on similar principles, extending the reach of power into everyday life. Prisons, therefore, are not isolated institutions, but rather nodes in a disciplinary society, revealing the pervasive nature of power relations. Foucault also critiques the rhetoric of penal reform. While prison reformers claim to emphasize rehabilitation and moral improvement, the underlying function of prisons was to maintain social order, enforce conformity, and regulate populations. The prison system produces knowledge about offenders, which then informs broader governance strategies, demonstrating the interplay of knowledge and power in modern societies. 4. Power, knowledge, and society. A central theme in Discipline and Punish is the intricate relationship between power and knowledge. Foucault rejects the notion that power operates purely through coercion or law. Instead, power is productive and relational, shaping what is known and how knowledge is applied. Disciplinary power relies on the capacity to observe, classify, and normalize individuals, like producing knowledge that reinforces social hierarchies and institutional authority. Power in this framework is decentralized and omnipresent. It does not reside solely in the state or sovereign, but circulates through institutions and practices, shaping individual behavior and social relations. Foucault's analysis challenges traditional conceptions of power as repressive, emphasizing instead its productive capacity. Power produces reality, defines truth, and creates subjects. 5. Implications and critique. Discipline and Punish has profound implications for understanding modern society. Foucault's analysis extends beyond the penal system to illuminate the subtle mechanisms of social control embedded in everyday institutions. It challenges the liberal humanist notion that modern institutions are primarily benevolent, exposing the ways in which power operates through surveillance, categorization, and normalization. The book has also sparked critical debates. Some scholars argue that Foucault overemphasizes the disciplinary aspects of institutions while underestimating resistance and agency. Others critique the historical accuracy of his account, suggesting that the transformation from corporal punishment to disciplinary regimes was more gradual and contested than he portrays. Nevertheless, Foucault's work remains a foundational text for critical theory, sociology, criminology, and political philosophy. Conclusion. Michel Foucault's Discipline and Punish offers a transformative perspective on the history and logic of punishment. By tracing the shift from public execution to disciplinary institutions, Foucault reveals the subtle, pervasive mechanisms through which modern societies exercise control over individuals. The concepts of disciplinary power, surveillance, normalization, and the production of knowledge illuminate the ways in which institutions shape behavior, identity, and social order. Far from being a mere critique of the penal system, Discipline and Punish provides a powerful framework for analyzing the dynamics of power, knowledge, and social regulation in modernity, challenging readers to reconsider the relationship between authority, society, and the individual. Foucault's work remains essential for understanding contemporary debates on mass incarceration, surveillance technologies, and the expansion of disciplinary mechanisms into everyday life. By exposing the historical roots and subtle techniques of power, Discipline and Punish continues to provoke reflection on the ethical, social, and political implications of control in modern society. Its legacy endures as a critical lens through which we can examine institutions, practices, and the pervasive influence of power on the human condition.